The Al Travis Show. We love our next guest coming on. He is Todd Bergeth. He would be the voice of sports in Western Minnesota, and we get to have him on the program. Todd, how are you?
I'm great, Al. Thanks for having me.
No, it is absolutely our pleasure. I love talking with guys who do this for a living because you know what it's like to be buried in it, right? You got to find that line between knowing too many of the stats, but getting a real feel for the game and then being able to relate it. So I just absolutely love having you on. I want to talk to the Minnesota Vikings because that's obviously good news stuff. But if you don't mind, I'm going to hit you the curveball to start. Mm-hmm. The Minnesota Golden Gophers, everybody does this, play some patsy teams and, bolster your record when you're not playing non-conference. But I think we've shown the lunacy of the whole thing here last weekend. The Gophers played a team they were never going to have a problem with, win 66-0, and they even stopped the game lightning. The other team was shaking in their boots already. They wanted to leave. Everybody left. I think this is ridiculous. I think what we should have is some way of getting, like powerhouse teams, there are teams in other divisions that we could play that are roughly our size, roughly our talent level, and play them instead of what we saw last week. And there are 4 or 5 games where 73 was the number that people were getting to.
Yeah, it was a lot of blowouts. I'm not sure. I think it's, the school gets the money. That's why they're willing to take the beat down. The Gophers pay them to come there, and they don't have to have a reciprocal game. I think that the expanded playoffs, now 12 and probably 16 teams sometime in the next couple of years, should aid in fewer of these blowout games for non-conference, because teams don't have to worry so much anymore about having one loss, or in the major conferences, even 2 losses. They can still get into the playoffs. So hopefully, and we saw it week 1 with Texas and Ohio State playing each other and some other big matchups. I think that the playoffs will help that situation. I'm not a fan either. I look forward to the Gopher games each week, and I do watch some other college football. Mm-hmm. I watch more of the NFL. Sure. But it was over so quick. 35 rip after the first quarter, and you could see every guy was bigger, faster, stronger on the Gophers. It really was a colossal mismatch.
Yeah, no, it absolutely was. And again, back to I get it. We're 1/3 of the way to being bowl eligible. That's what's so weird about this. You only got to get to 6. We're almost there. I can't wait for regular season to start. My thought was, the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, they all as a league, set up their schedules, who's going to play who, where, and when to keep it that way. I think the NCAA, of course, the conferences will take care of themselves, but any other games, I think the NCAA would do themselves a favor by setting up the preseason.
Yeah, good luck with the major conferences going along with that. That's the only problem.
Yeah.
They have so much power, and we've seen that the NCAA has been really neutered over the last 10 years or so, maybe not quite that long, with all of these lawsuits that they just continuously lose. Yeah. So we know the NCAA was not conducting business in a fair fashion for many years. And so I just don't know. You're not going to go and tell the SEC commissioner necessarily that, we're going to schedule Big Ten, SEC, and non-conference games, and we're going to throw in an ACC game. They probably are going to say, well, we're going to have to play at least one of those games on the road. And we would rather play all home games. It's better for revenue. We're paying these small schools. I love the thought. I would like to see every game against a similar opponent. I'm not a huge fan of FBS versus FCS, unless you're a North Dakota State fan. They like those because they get wins once in a while. But good luck getting that away from the conferences. I think it's. I would love to see it. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Then the other thing they have to do is set up a rule that $500 million that the school got to get themselves hammered should go straight to the kids. Those kids are shell-shocked. They're going to need some Dr. Phil time. I think you need to pay for it because that wasn't fair to the kids they brought over. So split that $500,000 up between those 80 kids, and we'll call it even.
There you go.
Just my thought.
Yeah, because what kind of NIL dues do they have to begin with? So.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let's go with the Minnesota Vikings, if we can. Last night, well, for me it was last night. This will be tomorrow. The Vikings have a terrible start. Give me your. You watched the game, I presume?
Yeah, I did. Oh, you bet.
So give it to me. Bust it down. How bad did that defense look in that first drive for the Bears? They just walked on down. The announcers are like, they haven't scored a first possession touchdown in like 2 years, and they walked on us.
Yeah, it was concerning. It was definitely a little Ben Johnson magic. They hadn't seen some of that, and Caleb Williams played well. So we used to hear all the time about the scripting of the first 15 plays of an NFL game. I haven't heard that quite as much in the last couple of seasons, but I still think they do it. It's just not being talked about that much. So when Caleb Williams was on script, he was really good. I mean, he is fast. He is hard to bring down when he decides to run, and he really has some serious arm talent. But once they were beyond the scripted plays into just him trying to figure it out, it didn't go as well. And the Vikings started to then defend them better. But not just that first drive, but I was concerned about that last touchdown drive the Bears had in the fourth quarter, too. It kind of went down the field that time as well.
Well, you're old like me. We've been here and done that. Minnesota is the worst prevent defense team ever. Name a time if the prevent defense, we stopped anything. We prevented anything. And you tell me, Todd, I don't understand this. You turn something around at half, and we'll talk about that. At half turns around, defense takes control of this ball game, and then you have 2.5 minutes to defend, and you change what you're doing? You owned it for a half.
I know. It's hard to imagine. And of course, everybody does it, and it's been going on forever. So they must have their reasons. I just wish they could explain those reasons to us fans who are screaming at our television, put some pressure on the quarterback, will you please? You know, I don't understand it myself a lot of times, but it goes on. And the Vikings have done it, 2 years ago? They allowed the most points in the NFL in the final 2 minutes of the first half. And it wasn't a lot better at the end of games if they had the lead either.
No, and like you say, you got these bright minds talking to us on the TV. Tell me what that's all about, because it makes no sense to me. Now, let's talk about our offense as well. Well, before we go, the defense. That first half, I don't know the number of actual blitzes we did and all this stuff that Flores is known for. It seemed very vanilla to me. We did miss a couple of sacks. I mean, that Williams he's quick. I mean, he can juke around. He made some great plays with his feet. I'm not trying to take it away from him. But did you think that the Flores defense showed up in the first half? Because it sure was a difference after halftime.
He seemed to not be dialing up as much pressure against Williams at times. Maybe that is because of his elusiveness in the backfield. But they did seem to be on their heels a little bit more. But, again, it's a different play caller than the Bears have. And they have some good players. They were getting a lot of publicity about the free agent signings that they made on the offensive line, including Joe Thuney, who's a 4-time Super Bowl winner at left guard. But they redid the middle of their offensive line and kept their tackles just like the Vikings did. It takes a bit maybe to get dialed in. A lot of guys returning, though, from the Vikings, from their defense from last year. But enough new guys. I think the defense does get better. It was the Bears' offense, so we thought that they really should have shut them down more than they did. But I think that'll get better as the season goes, too. I just hope that Blake Cashman isn't too seriously injured, because when he was out last year for that 6 games or whatever it was, the Vikings' run defense went from top 5 to bottom 5 in the NFL. It makes such a difference against the run. So hopefully that hamstring isn't going to be too many weeks for Cashman, likely at least one. Though.
You've watched enough football. As soon as he pulled up and you looked at him grab that, you knew exactly what it was. Like, oh, crap, here we go. All right, we'll go to break. When we come back, we'll talk more about the Minnesota Vikings and what's going on there. I've got it. Todd Bergeth. He is, of course, the sports guy in Western Minnesota, and we're glad to have him on the program. Talk more right after this on the Al Travis Show. We've got him, Todd Bergeth, on the program with us talking all things sports. So, Todd, you get to the halftime. There really wasn't a shining moment, with the exception, and this is a negative thing, but I like it anyway. Chicago was killing themselves with weird penalties. They could not stop moving a pre-motion snap, and that was crushing them. If they hadn't done that, this game could have gotten out of hand much sooner. Your thoughts just on the discipline?
Yeah, a lot of penalties on the Bears. And, of course, Kevin O'Connell has always had one of the least penalized teams in the NFL. They pay attention to those details. But the motion penalties on the offensive line, getting used to Williams' cadence, why would that still be an issue? I would wonder, because it's his second year there. But sometimes they'll say it's the cadence of the QB. They weren't quite hearing it correctly, but it was some undisciplined football. And then, the Vikings, Pace had that hit on Williams that was clearly high.
Oh, yeah.
And he knew it was. He was looking right in his eyes while it drives him to the ground. So maybe he's making a statement because that was so obviously a high hit on the quarterback that could have cost the Vikings, and it did go for 15 yards. But the Bears notoriously are a highly penalized team. That'll be something to watch with Ben Johnson as the coach. Can he get a grip on that?
All right. On our side, the real negativity, McCarthy did throw an interception that was ludicrous. There were two drop balls by Thielen and JJ that I thought he should have kept. So it goes both ways, but that was a horrible pass. But I want to ask you, would you watch when he comes to the sidelines and talking to the coach? You can see why he's the quarterback whisperer, can't you? He was not letting that kid get down. Yep.
Yeah, he was right there as soon as he came off the field and explained to him, let's just keep playing. We got to keep going. And then it was almost like a boxer who has to take that first hard punch to wake up and get into the fight. And it was almost like that happened with JJ, is that he throws the pick six, and then he comes over and the coach gives him reassurance. All right, let's go. We've got more football to play here. And it's like he woke up all of a sudden. And then the throws were on time. They were coming out quickly. There might have been guys open on those first couple of series when they went 3 and out, but he wasn't willing to let the ball go just yet. And then suddenly, all right, I threw the bad pick. The coach is still behind me, which he knew he would be.
Yeah.
But it's easier than maybe it was for him. Maybe it freed him up to suddenly just start letting it rip, which he finally did. And we really saw the top-flight arm talent that he has, I thought, with that throw to Jefferson with his feet off platform, as they call it. He finished with his right foot ahead of his left, and it was just a rocket in between two guys. And that was a great catch by Jefferson, who did have the 2 drops that you referenced.
Yeah.
But it was like, all right, coach is still behind me. Everybody's still behind me. Let's get this done. And the light switch went on for him, which was really fun to see.
It was. And like you said, you could almost see his eyes cleared up and he could see what was going on around him. What it got me is some of my friends were texting during the game. He doesn't have to throw the ball that hard all the time. And I said, but it's easier to take it off than try to gain arm strength. This kid's got a cannon when he wants to cannon that ball. And I think that's fantastic.
He does. Our high school coach calls it a 1 ball. That's the slant route or the quick hard throw over the middle. A 2 ball, which is the one that you have to feather over the linebackers, drop it in front of the defensive back, and a 3 ball being the deep throw. And he needs to get better at the 2 ball. You can see he has the fastball, and he can throw the ball deep with some accuracy, as we saw that throw to Jones. It's that one over the backer in front of the safety. That's the hardest throw in football, and he does need some work on that. He did throw the fastball a lot last night.
But then when you get to him into the fourth quarter, we're down by 11. They outscore him 21-7. And the 7, that's that weird prevent defense crap. This is pretty much a shutout in the fourth. 2 throwing touchdowns, 1 run. By the way, he was not going to be denied. You look at a quarterback who's willing to do that, these kids anymore with legs under him. He dove under Hawkinson to make sure he got that TD. I loved what I saw for that quarter.
I did too. And for me, the fact that now that read option play that they scored that touchdown on with McCarthy is actually a viable play.
Yes.
Because it never was with even Sam Darnold. It certainly wasn't with Kirk Cousins. Nobody was buying that Kirk Cousins was suddenly going to pull the ball out of the belly of the running back and run around the end. No, he's handing it off. It's a lot of fun to have a mobile quarterback, which is what KOC wanted. He wanted somebody who could run and throw, because that's such a threat to defenses, as the Vikings defense saw last night. It's such a threat. And then to be able to do that and pull and get the defensive end shoulders turned, so he pulled it at just the right time. He read it perfectly, and then ran in behind and knew how to follow his blocker to get into the end zone.
You bring up the run. Both the running backs had pretty darn good days for Minnesota, but it took him a whole half to decide we'd run down the middle, and I don't understand that. That run opened up everything else for McCarthy. I don't know if we thought it would work the other way around, but once they committed to that interior line and that run, the game changed. What you watched was a different ball game in that second half.
It was, and we do see that, where halves flip and one team makes adjustments and the other team feels a little satisfied. Not consciously, but unconsciously, they look up and they go, gosh, we've got almost a 2-touchdown lead. We're in pretty good shape. and just that little relax point while the other team is, chewing on each other, and they're getting it from the coaches, and they come out with more energy, and then sometimes it can just keep rolling that way. They were talking about momentum with Justin Jefferson after the game on some of the post-game stuff, which I stayed up till well after midnight to watch all that stuff. And Jefferson said, momentum is real. He said a lot of numbers people they want to discount that, but it's real. You feel it on the sideline when things start going your way. You also feel it when it's not going your way.
Yeah.
And when the Vikings flipped the script and started rolling, the Bears panicked. You could see their eyes got wide, and they weren't quite sure what to do. Oh, no, the young quarterback all of a sudden is making passes downfield and hitting them. Yeah. It really flipped, and that momentum went to the Vikings.
All right, with my last minute, if I can, Todd, I haven't put you on the squeeze yet. The North, NFC North, how do you place them? Green Bay won, we run. We're tied for first place. The Bears and, of course, Detroit. Where do you line them up for me at the end of the year?
Well, preseason, I thought it was going to be really hard for either the Vikings or Lions to repeat 15 and 14 wins last year, so I thought they would both come back a little. But the only thing that matters for those two teams and their quarterbacks are what happens in the playoffs anyway.
Yeah.
Because for the Vikings, I love their team. I've got to have, I think it's the Packers and Vikings at the top, and maybe it'll come down to a tiebreaker right around that 11-12 win mark. I see the Lions slipping back to about 10, still a good team, but not as good because their middle of their offensive line is gone. They lost a retirement and two guards to free agency, and not just their coordinators left, but it was a serious brain drain. They lost like 7 other coaches as well, so I think that takes some time to catch up. And I think Jared Goff had a blessed season with a great coordinator who knew exactly how to use him last year. There's a reason the Rams traded him and a couple of first-round picks for Matthew Stafford.
No kidding, my friend.
He isn't the guy they portrayed.
I'm running up against the time, my friend. I really do appreciate you coming on and doing this with us. Can we do it again? I really do enjoy you, sir.
Love to.
All right. We'll get him back. It's Todd Bergeth, sports guy out of Western Minnesota. He knows his stuff. We'll be back after this with more on The Al Travis Show.